Okay, YouTube, I'm Rap from Rap's Garage Shop, and today on the channel I am going to put these valves in that head for my 97 Bad Boy. But before you watch my video, do this. Thanks. The video before this, I put the rocker arms back into the rocker boxes, made sure to measure them all up properly, get everything spaced right. I did end up having to replace this rocker arm. I'll attach that video at the end. You can see here where some of the paint's coming off. I do have the Harley paint, so I'm going to touch these up before I go further. I have a separate video for that I'll attach at the end, so I'm going to do that off camera. So you can see here that I had a triple angle valve job done on these seats. That's a 30, a 45, and a 60 degree cut on those. And the 45 you can see is kind of the dark gray spot here that's not shiny. The valves have already been lapped in. So you can see where the valves are lapped by the gray line. So I'm going to put the intake valve in first. Before you can install the valve seal, you need to put the lower spring retainer in. I'm going to use the James valve seals. They come out of this James top end gasket kit. That kit part number is JGI 17040-92. The top end gasket kit fits 92 to 99 1340 Evolution motors. If you're just looking for the seals, the part number is JGI 26856-89. That's seal umbrella valve. These seals come with instructions that I suggest you read. I'm just going to stick with the installation part. It says with a pencil, make a mark 1/4 inch down from the tip of the valve guide. You could certainly do this with a ruler, but since I have a set of veneer calipers, I'm going to use these to do it. They also depth mic, comes right out the end here, you see. And the way you do that is you just take and come out 1/4 inch. And that's 1/4 inch right there, and then you just lock it down. So there you can see 1/4 inch is almost at that 45. It's about a pencil width away from the 45 where it starts. So you just want to mark that. Step number 2, insert the spring-loaded end of the valve seal into a 7/16 12-point socket. So here's my 7/16 12-point socket. You just take the end with the spring and you just lightly insert it into the socket like that. Almost snaps in. Step 3, it says slide the seal onto the guide until the bottom edge of the seal meets the pencil mark. Be careful not to overinstall the seal. Now you can see the hammer I'm using is very small. That way I don't go past where I need to go. And you can see it taps on real nice and easy. Now that I have it down to the pencil mark, you just pull the socket right off. You want to check that you got it straight. It looks straight to me. Step 4 says lubricate the valve stem sealing lip and gently slide the valve stem into the seal. An installation sleeve is not necessary. So before I install the valve, I'm going to coat the stem with assembly lube. And this is the stuff I use here. Synthetic assembly lube from Royal Purple. Just give it a coat like that. There's a 45 up here on the tip. And you can see I coated the stem. Before I push this in, you just want to put a little on the top of the valve seal. That way it doesn't damage the rubber. I like to spin it as I'm putting it in so the entire valve guide gets some lube on it. And then right here I'm touching the seal. You can see that's got a lot of oil right there. And then I just like to put my finger over it as it comes through. And that was simple enough. Again, give it another twist to make sure everything's got a good coating of lube. I have 30,000 miles on this bike, and I've been on the stock valve springs, and I decided it was time to upgrade since I had it apart. I called Andrews and they recommended what springs to get. I went with the Andrews, part number 294150, or Drag Specialties part number DS 199739. These are high lift Evo springs. Obviously the EV27 is not a high lift cam. If I do decide to change cams and go with a bigger lift cam, I already have the springs, so I'm good to go there. And the heavier seat pressure isn't going to affect the small cam. So this is what the old springs versus the new springs look like. you can see that both of these springs are much bigger than stock, especially the smaller spring. When you run the higher pressure springs, you have to use these collars, which it gives you more valve travel. The Andrews part number is 293115, and the Drag Specialties part number is 09261439. And these are collar valve springs, 84 to 04 big twins. These come with an oil coating so that they don't rust, so you need to take some brake clean and clean these completely off. So this is what the difference is between the two. You can see the new one for the higher springs is longer than the stock one. The reason that is the tapers right here on both of them. This allows the keeper to sit up higher in order to give you more valve travel. That's the difference in the two of them. Doesn't seem like much, but when you're talking about valve travel, it's quite a bit. When you're installing a new high lift cam, you need to know how much lift you can have on that cam before the bottom of the upper keeper crashes into the seal. Generally, that'll happen before you go into coil bind. So you need to check that before you go together. And the way you check that is you install your valve. To do that, you install your seal. Then you install your valve. Once you get your valve installed, you don't want to install your springs. You want to install your upper keeper like that, and you pull it all the way up. Now this is what that looks like right here. And then what you want to do is you want to get a vernier caliper. You want to come out here. You want to measure from the bottom of that keeper to the top of the seal. Now you don't want to crush it, and that measurement's 0.637. So that's the maximum amount of valve lift that you could have before it touches. Now, you don't want to go quite that close. You want to give yourself at least a 30 thousandths gap. So that would put you around 6/10 of an inch. The EV27 is a bolt-in cam, so you don't need to check this. Andrews has already done the homework on that. But if you're installing a big cam, then you have to check it. And here are the two springs here. As a general rule of thumb, it's better to have too much spring than not enough. So I put these two together like that. Next thing you do is you put your upper valve retainer on, and then the valve spring compressor tool. Put the bottom side on the valve, put the top side here, up in where the cup is, and then you're just going to take and turn it down. Once you have it started, you can set it up like this. You want to make sure that you don't take the upper retainer down so far that it hits the valve seat. Now you get your two keepers, and you put one keeper in. I try to rotate it around so it puts the other keeper up front here. You'll see that it doesn't want to go all the way in. You just take and pull the spring over, give it some room. Sometimes you have to take it down a little further, like I'm doing here. There, now that keeper's lined up. Then you just take and turn this backwards, and the other one will come up and set right in the groove. Right like that, or pretty much in. Then I just back the spring compressor off, and there you have it. Just like that, it's in. I always hit them a couple times with this plastic mallet to make sure nothing's going to come apart. And that's how you install the valves and the springs. Now I'm going to do the rest of them off camera. So that's the install of higher lift valve springs and the higher lift keepers along with valve seals. Like I said earlier, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.